Yeah, hello everyone. This is Florian from Yamdu. So we still, I guess, have some more people joining our hopefully great and entertaining webinar. So just that those of you that are already here can see a face. So greetings from Munich, Germany, where Yamdu has its headquarters, just as our partner does, Ari. So you can see me, real existing persons here behind the curtain. But of course, we will show you what you want to see, our new workflow-based software called Yamdu. So I just switch off my camera again so that you can enjoy a few slides that we've put together. And then later on, of course, the software as well. So thank you, first of all, for you joining this webinar, but also thank you to our partner here, SICAV, to especially, of course, to Leonardo Ebbe, to Julia, to Bruna, Adriana, the entire team who made this possible and actually invited you. And I hope we can provide you with a great show and get you some insights. So again, my name is Florian. I'm CEO of Yamdu. I'm one of the founders. And maybe to give you a little background, I used to be a film producer, just as probably most of you are. So I did a lot of productions over in Europe, feature films, documentaries, serialized productions, etc. And about 10 years ago, I was feeling like maybe a few things could be done better. So we were kind of working on establishing a new software, a new tool, and we came up with Yamdu. And Yamdu is thought to create media with the dull bits cut out. You all know there's so much redundant work and there are lists. And I had those actors and actresses once, and there have been locations here and there. And you have all that data, and then you want to use it again, but some is in spreadsheet, some is on Drive, some is in Dropbox, some is even if in a paper binder. And then you have tons of different tools like Movie Magic scheduling for the shooting scheduling, and a different software maybe for call sheets like Word, etc. And then you send out emails and somebody CC and BCC and WhatsApp and all that stuff. So the idea of Yamdu is to have brought all of this together in one production hub. And we will show you in a minute what that looks like. And afterwards, I will also show you some brand new features that we created for European production companies on telenovelas. So just if that is maybe important to some of you. And in the very end, we will talk, of course, about what might be special for you as SICAV members. And of course, you always can ask questions. We will have a Q&A at the very end, but you can, during the demonstration, type in questions as it is going in the chat window. So we hope to take care of all of that. And of course, after the demonstration, we will send this webinar to every one of you who want to share it with friends or within your company. But now, so that you don't only hear my voice, I will hand over to my great colleague, Mick O'Callaghan. And Mick O'Callaghan will now talk about the basic values and benefits of Yamdu and then show you a bit of the software. So Mick, I go to the next slide and it's up to you.
Okay, well, thanks, Florian, for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining today. I'm going to be taking you through the system, and just to give you an overview of some of the key things that Yamdu provides, you can see here on this slide that Yamdu is a smart solution, and it's designed to cover all content types and all positions and departments. And of course, it covers all steps and stages of a production from development through to post at the very end. You can also see here that it contains all key general and film-specific tools that you need to manage your projects. And as Florian mentioned, that means taking a lot of things under one umbrella where you can manage things effectively. And as you can see, it works across all devices and browsers. It's responsive, so it's designed to make it easy for you to use the system, whether you're on your mobile phone or on your desktop, laptop, or tablet. So some other things about Yamdu that are important. What we try to do is eliminate redundant work. And the more of that you can eliminate, the more you can spend working on the creative aspects of your projects. We also want to simplify difficult work so that you don't have to spend too much time doing things that are not very interesting. We try to streamline the workflow from development all the way through your project, and we want to improve efficiency the entire way. And I'll show you, of course, many examples as we go through the demonstration. We also have communication directly within Yamdu itself so that you can share ideas and delegate work and collaborate together all in one place. And of course, it's a file sharing hub. It wouldn't make sense if it wasn't. So you can add any files you think are relevant, and I'll explain that as we come to it a little later too. And of course, perhaps the key thing in Yamdu is that everyone is working with the same information. Everything is always up to date. Nobody is lagging behind. Everyone is, sharing the same vision as you move together through the project. So that's a little introduction about what Yamdu provides. Now I'll take you through the system and let you see exactly how everything works. So I hope now that all of you can see my overview page here. And what you see here is the first thing any user sees in Yamdu when they enter the system. It's where you can get a sense of the projects that you are currently working on, no matter how many of them there may be. You can see the tasks that you have across all of those projects, and you can also see the tasks that you may have created for yourself or for other people as they work on the project. And of course, we always remind you about important details, so if you have any meetings or events coming up, you'll see them very clearly when you log into the system. So in the overview section here, you can see that you have all of your projects to explore and jump into when you need to. You can create new ones when you wish to. You can also see here that you have an overview calendar. And this is where all of the information from each of your projects is collected. So you can see you have different steps and stages of production. And on any given day, you can see what's happening across multiple projects and meetings in each of those projects. You can see deadlines for tasks. And we'll go into more detail about the calendars within Yamdu as we progress through the demonstration. I should also point out too that you can filter as well. So you can filter out information about projects that are not as relevant as others. You can filter by category, and you can also see what a user's calendar looks like as well. So if you do want to get a sense if someone is free or if they can do something on a particular project or even outside of a project, then you can see exactly what their calendar looks like at any time. And of course, to make things easier, you can subscribe to this and the other calendars in Yamdu with Google or Apple or Microsoft Outlook or any of the other major calendars and export all of the information from Yamdu to that second location to keep track of as well. And that information, of course, updates whenever anything changes within the project. And you'll see throughout Yamdu that you can also create PDF exports for all of the important information like this. And I might show you an example a little later. So you have this view of all of your different projects. You can see here too that you also have your company database. And this is one of the most important features within Yamdu. The first thing you can see here is that you can add your employees and staff, and you can also assign administrators. The administrator can see and do pretty much everything. The employees and staff, their access rights can be dictated by what they need to do. So you can see that you always have control over what people can see and do within the system, and that can be changed at any point. As well as this, you can add company files and you have a company calendar for information that is not directly linked to a project or for vacation details, for example. And you also can see here that you have an address book. And this is collecting information from each project and automatically building a database for you. So freelancers or anybody outside the company itself who you work with, that information is shared here and saved so that you can reuse this information on future projects. You only ever have to add someone to Yamdu once, and once they're in the system, you can then move forward and reuse their information whenever you need to. Now, one of the recent things we've added, and we always add a lot of updates in Yamdu, is the resource planning add-on. And I'll just give you a quick overview of this to see how you can manage your resources across all of your projects. The first thing that's important to understand is that you can essentially make anything a resource. You can organize this and structure this however you prefer, but we have a little example here to give you a sense of how this works. So firstly, to show you, you have bundles, which allows you to add several things together that may be required. Perhaps you need a camera operator, some light panels, and a studio for a certain shoot, and you do these kind of shoots over and over again. In that case, you can create a bundle and just reuse it whenever you need to. The other options, of course, are to directly add pieces of equipment or people or studios. And just from the equipment point of view, you can see here that I can add, for example, different cameras or lenses or things like this. And I can also see that information in a number of different views. For example, with the scheduler here, where I can see when my cameras are in use, on what projects, and if I move them or change things, then it will automatically let me know that we have a clash or a conflict. So you have this zoom function where you can see day by day or get a much longer term overview of when certain things are in use. So I'll just move this back so that it's not clashing anymore. When we add information in the resource planner, you can see here that, for example, I've added a couple of different cameras, some Alexa cameras from our partners, Ari. Again, we can see the scheduler view, but if I go back to the tile view here and jump in quickly, you can see that I can add the resource, the quantity of the resource, and all of the other key information that needs to be added here. And of course, if it's an ARI product, then it automatically adds all of the important technical specifications, but you can also enter this detail yourself if you wish to. You can add images and files and videos, of course, too. And you can also see here that you can see the existing bookings for this resource and see which bundles this resource is added to. And as you'll see as we continue through the system, you can add links and comment pretty much everywhere within Yamdu itself. So that's working with a piece of physical equipment. But what about if the resource is a human resource? Well, in that case, you can see here that you can add freelancers and crew. And again, we can switch between multiple views. But when I add a personnel resource, you can see that I can use existing users that are in Yamdu already. I can add users as external contacts. And I can also, if I want to, use resources that are not part of the system. So you have these different options and you can manage these however you prefer. And the system also takes into account vacations or off periods where these people may not be available. So that's the general structure. It works the same way for studios and rooms, where you can create different levels of information. So you can see within studios, for example, that we have 4 different ones to choose from. And if I want to, I can directly add a booking in this view right here. But you can see that that's how you add information. You can also see that you can book information very easily as well. And when we go to this view, you have a Gantt chart that looks slightly different, and you can see each of the bookings the company has across all projects in one place. And again, you can zoom out to get a long-term view of when certain things are booked out. And of course, whether it's a draft booking or repair and maintenance rather than a block booking for a shoot. And creating a booking is very straightforward. All you need to do is add a time and a date. You can add a name for the booking. You can assign it to the company or to a specific project. And then you can see here that to select your resources, all you need to do is basically choose what you want to add. So if it's a piece of equipment, we can open up camera and we can select one that works. You can see here that the Alexa is booked out. So if I try to book it, it will immediately tell me that there is an issue. The same thing happens when I try to book the Alexa LF Mini. There is a problem with conflicting bookings. So I can instead choose something else that is free, and now that's a perfectly legitimate booking. I can add anything else that I think might be relevant and just build up all of the elements I need from my resources to create a booking. So it's a very straightforward process. And once you're done, then you can add a name, for example, choose a project to assign this to, and then set this up. And once I've done that and I click create, it will now be added to my Gantt chart where it needs to be in the schedule moving forward. So that is the resource planning tool. There's a couple of other elements that I'll come back to as we move through the demonstration, showing you how this information also appears inside a project as well. But moving on in this area here, you can see that in the database, you also have a collection of all of the production calendars from your projects. And as well as that, you have databases automatically filled with key information like actors, locations, costumes, and props. So I can see all of the people we've worked with before, all of these actors, and if I want to, I can also filter information. So if I'm looking for someone that can play a specific age range, or with certain talents, or with certain criteria, I can enter these pieces of information and I will only see the people who fit for these different roles. So then I can make a decision very quickly. The same idea goes for your location database. You can see all of the locations from each of your projects right here. And if you want to, you can also filter to search for a location near where you are or a location at a specific place. We use Google's algorithm. So if you start entering a location, it will populate with some examples for you. And you can tag locations to make it easy to see different types that might be of interest when you're looking for things on a new project. So these are the important elements when it comes to reusing your information and automatically building databases for your information. The same goes for costumes and props. And finally here, before we jump directly into a project, you can see we have project templates. And this allows you to create a template for the types of projects that you work on again and again. And that's something that you'll see as we move forward is a very useful tool within Yamdu because you can start a project with a lot of information already pre-filled. But let's jump into a project now because of course, most of the work will be done inside a project. And when I enter Love at Sunset, which is a feature movie project, you can see that I have my project dashboard. I have suggestions here, what's to do for things I might want to do based on the type of project I'm working on. You can see too that I can see my tasks for this project. I can mark objects that I need to keep track of. So if there's something like an old map that's been problematic that we haven't yet found, I can tag this thing and search for it and make sure that I'm updated whenever any new information about this is added. And finally here you can see what's going on. And this is a live feed of all of the information that's occurring within the project. You can see what people are doing, what they're adding, different new pieces of information. For the demonstration, it's all James Miller, but normally you would see what different people in different departments are doing to move the project forward. Also, before we jump into the key tools, I just want to show you quickly that you can scale Yamdu up and down. So you might have a company that doesn't require all of the tools Yamdu provides. In that case, you can just simply deactivate the functions you don't need. If it's documentaries you work on, you can deactivate costumes, for example. And you can always reactivate these things too. Any information you remove disappears from the menu on the left-hand side as well. With Yamdu, you can also work with episodic features, so you can assign information to an episode or to all episodes at once, depending on what you need. And also here you can see that you can export information easily. You have a PDF header that you can edit so that any information you send from the system looks very professional. And of course, from a security point of view, you can watermark any PDF files you create with the name of the current user or a custom watermark, just to make sure that your security is correctly managed and that you have control over what's being sent out from Yamdu itself. One final thing here, because I think it's especially important for Brazilian productions, is that in my user settings here, I have the option to play around with a few things. You can see my personal information here. I can work with notifications and change how the system communicates with me. But one of the key things is that there are a number of different languages to work with in Yamdu, including Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese at that. So you should be able to use the system with the actual interface in your language. And of course, if it's okay, I'll proceed today in English, but you can check this out during your trial or whenever you explore Yamdu and see for yourself that that option is available. So that's, I hope, given you a very clear idea of the structure of Yamdu from the overview and then directly into a project. So at this stage now we need to take a look at the actual tools themselves and all of the key things that Yamdu offers for your projects. And we can see now when we enter Love at Sunset what those tools are. The first thing you can see here is the crew area. And this is where you can add people to your project. You can add users that are in your database or direct employees just by clicking here and adding them directly from your database. The other option you have, of course, is to invite users for the first time to the system. And when you do that, all you need is an email address, first and last name, and you need to assign each person a position or multiple positions. When you do that, and if I select line producer, for example, Yamdu will automatically generate access rights that it feels that person should have. These are just suggestions. You might look at this and say, that's exactly what a person should see. Or you can think that, actually in this case, they should not see call sheets or they should not see the production calendar. So you can edit this information before inviting someone and also afterwards too, because you have full access right control for every position. And I should say that's the administrator, the person or people who are managing the account, or high-level producers. People in various departments won't have the information like this. They just see what they need to see related to the job that they are doing. But I can edit this however I want at any point, and I can also control the information for files and documents, our big file sharing hub, and also for sensitive information about actors and extras and information like this. So the other key things in this area are the ability to add external contacts. These are people who are not actively working in Yamdu, but whose information you want within the system. You can also turn these people very easily into users at a later point. So if you are considering different people for your projects, then you can have them in the system without them being invited yet. The other key thing from a communication point of view is that you have user groups. And first of all, these are automatically created when you add certain positions and departments. So if I add a casting team with 3 or 4 members, then that is a user group that I can communicate with in one message. And you can also create your own user groups too to communicate with anyone you think you would like to discuss things with at any point. It's designed to make it a lot easier than using email, where you end up searching through a long thread of information looking for the piece or the detail that's important for the project you're working on. In Yamdu, everything is saved directly inside the system, and as we'll see later, it is linked to the actual object in question. And finally, here in Yamdu, you can see that you can work with units. You can work with second units or foreign units. And you can also see here that because of coronavirus, we've actually changed things around a bit. You could create pods so that if certain teams should not be interacting during the course of the production, you can keep them separate and designate them as separate things, so that if, for example, someone was to get sick in one pod, then it would not affect the other two, all things going well. So this is customizable and you can play around with it however you think would work best. So that is just getting people into the system, adding them, making sure that everyone is aware of what they and the people they are working with are doing. The next tool here in the general area is files and documents, which is of course vital for any kind of production, that you have one shared space where important information can be saved, and also that you can control the access rights for this information. We organize these into rooms and objects, so you can create whatever structure you prefer. And in development, for example, I can add information like pitches or treatments or the script itself, and I can control the access rights to make sure I know exactly who can add and edit and view information. And you can see here that, for example, in the script area, we can add links if we need to as well to different information outside Yamdu. We can comment directly on a new version of the script, for example, and tag people if we need to let them know that they've done a good job. And you can also see here that within the script itself, when I open the PDF, I can view that information. I can see the time, or I can see the watermark, of course, and I can also, if I want to, see previous versions of the script as well. When you upload a new version, no information is lost. You can even keep using the same file name and avoid having situations where it's called final draft. So you can download information, you can send it directly outside of Yamdu. And of course, one other key element in any film production is that it's not just Word files and Excel sheets and documents that you're working with, but also visual information. So Yamdu allows you to directly upload visual information to the system. For example, here you can see that I can add a piece of content. We can watch that directly within the system itself. And we can also comment on this and timestamp those comments so that you can very easily see here that at a certain point in the video, we need a better take, or there's a boom in the shot, or there's some other issue that needs to be resolved. And of course, you can download this and send it via email too, and create new versions as you need to manage that information. So that's files and documents, and it allows you to share everything and manage how people can access it. A couple of the other key tools are, first of all, announcements. We use the loudspeaker symbol for this, and it's basically a digital loudspeaker, a megaphone, where you can let people know important information quickly. So if something changes or a certain form is required, or there's information that a certain department or all crew members should be aware of, you can create an announcement. It automatically then sends an email to everyone letting them know this information, and it will redirect all of them back into Yamdu if there is more information, or if people are asking questions, or there are files or images that might be relevant to this. So it's a way to ensure important information is shared quickly, whether it's just inviting people and letting them know that they're welcome to the project, or telling them that call times have been pushed back because of a sudden change in the weather. So as well as announcements, we have tasks. And again, this is one of the key tools from an organizational point of view when it comes to using Yamdu. Obviously, in a project, there are lots of things that need to be done in different departments across the entire production. And you can see here that we have some examples of things that may need to be done, from a costume issue to a camera test. And we can see clearly here whether this is upcoming or overdue. You can see the deadlines for each of these different tasks. You can see who the tasks are assigned to. And if you click into a task, you can see, for example, how it functions. If I create the task for a costume issue, I can add a title, a description, assign people to the project, add a deadline, and link the task to a certain section of Yamdu so that there's always context and references very clearly. I can also create subtasks if I need to, just in case certain things have to be delegated or other people need to work on certain elements. And I can add images and files very easily. Again, because Yamdu can be used on all devices, if someone is looking for this costume and they see it while they're out on the street, they can take an image on their mobile phone, directly upload it to the system, and then everyone can see this and view it and comment on it. And you can see here, for example, that all of the comments are saved in this task. So the task becomes its own communication hub where you can tag people, ask them questions, and also see who has seen information just to get a sense of whether or not everyone is up to speed. So also in the task function, we see the existing tasks and also all previous tasks that we've worked on right here. So I can sort these however I want by deadline, for example, and see everything that's already been completed, the tasks that are upcoming, and also the things that have already gone past their deadline and need to be done quickly. And because you can see all of this information here, you can get a very quick sense of where things stand in the project. And the other key thing is that all of these deadlines here for the tasks, to make sure nobody forgets them, nobody overlooks this information, that information is also shared in your project calendar. So I can see the deadlines for the various tasks right here in yellow. I can see the different production steps and stages for my project in blue here, these blue bars, and I'll come back to those in a minute. And you can also see that you have all of the different meetings and events in the project listed very clearly. And if anything changes, of course, you can move that information around as necessary. So creating an event is quite straightforward. You just need to add a date and a time, for example. You can add a title and a description. You can add participants, and then you can add things like the location. Again, we use Google's algorithm for this, so it makes it very easy to add a real world location, though as well you can also just add something like production office C, for example. As well as that, you can create categories. So you can say that there are different types of meetings and color code these very easily. So if we're creating a production meeting, I can mark it as green just to make it easier for everyone to see that this is a production meeting in the calendar. As well as that, I can also add descriptions very easily, just to let people know exactly what kind of meeting this is. And adding participants, I can do this with user groups or with individual crew members. So I can say, okay, I need Natalie for this meeting and Anna, and that should be enough. I can also, if I want to, edit the visibility to control who can see this information, and I can suggest several dates. So again, taking a lot of different tools and apps under one umbrella, instead of using something like Doodle, I can do this directly within Yamdu. I can add times and different suggestions for when these events should take place. So I can say that half one today is one option and add a suggestion, and I can also say that the same time tomorrow is another suggestion and add both of these. And that allows people then, when I create the event, to vote for the time that they think works best for them. Everyone has the option to do this, and then I can eventually say which date works best for me. You can see the two date suggestions here. They're slightly faint. If I click in, you can see very clearly that we can now vote for the time that works best. I can say today, and then if everyone agrees, accept the date very easily directly within the event itself. And as we'll see, when the event updates, it is now fixed in the calendar for the date in question. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you can subscribe to the project calendar directly with Google or Apple or Microsoft Outlook if you need to. You can also create a PDF export if that is required as well. So you can just see here when I do this that with PDF export, it's very easy to create paper copies of anything you may wish to create. And then of course you can send that information outside of the system or share it with anybody else who may be required to see this. So you can see the production meeting here, of course. You can also see that I can subscribe or PDF export this. And if I create a PDF export, I can have the month in question that's displayed or the entire calendar for the production. But in this case, I'll just very quickly create a export for this month, just so you can see what this looks like with the information like the different types of meetings, the color coding, and of course the PDF header with all of the key pieces of information. So that was the project calendar, and the blue bars here are coming from the production calendar. That's where you can map out the journey of your production step by step from beginning to end. And you can see here, if I click into my active scenario, that I have added some different steps over the course of my production. So you can see we can actually get a sense over time of how things move forward. And we can edit that information directly in this view as well. And you can see here I can move steps forwards or backwards, and I can make them longer or shorter as necessary. I can also directly add dependencies between steps by just dragging this little white ball that appears after the step wherever it needs to go, so that you can say that one thing needs to finish before the next thing can begin. So creating a production step is very straightforward. You don't have to use our template. You can create a custom step if you wish to and assign it to a production stage, or you can decide to add something from our template. So you can say that in, for example, post-production, we need to add a final cut. And when you select this, you can see here that you can add dependencies to say that certain things need to be finished before this step can begin, and other things can only begin once this step is completed. So when we do that, we can actually calculate the start and the end based on the dependencies. And I can say that my final cut will take 7 days, that weekends will be not included, or I can also, if I want to, define other breaks and holidays like this. But Yamdu has directly figured out the dates that make sense for this, and we can now create this final cut and add it to our schedule. And you can see here, it's been added directly in post-production where it needs to be. The other thing that's important here is that as we saw in the resource planning area, there are certain things you can do within a project. And in the production calendar, you can directly add resources. So for the first draft of the script, I could add a freelancer directly. Maybe Brian is the screenwriter for this project. And when I add him, you can see that his inclusion as a resource is defined by the dates of the resource itself. So in the resource planning area, however long this stage lasts, that's how long Brian will be required for this step as a resource. So that's where you can map out the long-term journey of your production in one view. You can also PDF export this as well. I'll just do that quickly because especially for your production office wall, if you wish to have that information displayed, then you can choose how it should be. You can have it on multiple sheets of paper with lots of information, or you can just have it over maybe 2 pieces of paper with the production steps and the information clearly added. And that allows you then, of course, to have a physical copy to refer to, especially if there are lots of steps and stages involved. So you can get a sense of that in this view here of how that looks over a period of time, in this case, over the course of a year, for example. So the other quick thing to show you here is that you can also see the list view. And within the list view, you can see any tasks that you create within steps, which is another thing you can do. And any of those tasks you create will also appear in the task area as well. So that is the production calendar. That's how this information here appears in the project calendar. The next and key thing to explore in Yamdu is the actual content that you're working with. So within Yamdu, you have different options. You can work with scenes, you can work with shots, you can work with both. You can choose to work with storyboards and also content items. But the first thing I'll show you is how to import a screenplay. So I can import my script very easily. You can do this from Final Draft, Celtx, Fountain, and also PDF files as long as they're in Hollywood format. And when I add my script, you can see that Yamdu can take all of the information in and replicate it here directly within the system. So I have my scenes here. They're color-coded by scene description, day, night, interior, exterior. And when we click into one of the scenes, you can see very clearly here that I have the description, the ID, the environment, the set, the characters, extras, costumes, all of the various breakdown elements that I would need to add information for departments and move the project forward. I can also directly tag the script. So I can open up the script here, select something like the old map, say that this is a prop, and then tag all mentions of that in the screenplay. So in one go, anytime the old map is now mentioned in the entire script, that will appear automatically in the breakdown. And you can see here that when I add that information, it's right here. It's added as a prop, and that information is then sent out to the different departments. So production design, for example, will see all of the different things that have been tagged in the script, like the old map. And if I click in here, we can see that the production design team has actually added some suggestions, different maps that might make sense for this. You can also see too that you can choose one of the maps as the actual item for this prop. And of course, that information is saved to the company database as well. The same idea goes for your locations and sets. So the sets from the script are automatically added, and you can assign them, or you can rather assign filming locations to them. So for example, I could add Ari Studios as a filming location, add an address, which again, using Google's algorithm, generates a map. And then I can add any images or files that I think are relevant, contact people, notes, sub-locations, and the rest. And again, all of that information is saved to my database. The same structure goes for costumes and makeup. And we can also see that inside the actual breakdown itself, all of the characters are directly pulled out of the script. So in this case, we can see that we have 2 actors playing the characters of Farid and Gard, but we don't yet have a character or an actor to play the character of James. So if we click on James, you can see that we have 2 different options. We can vote for the best option. if Jack Jameson is the best fit, we can cast him as the actor in question, and then the different departments and crew members will see that we have an actor for the character James. And as well as that, if they click on the actor, they can see key information like personal details for high-level people. They can see headshots, they can see appearance and skill information that can, of course, be reused in the database as well. The costume team can see sizes. We can see all day out of days as well once the shooting schedule is created. And we can see contracts and add show reels and off periods and any other information that might be relevant. So that allows you to add all of the key elements in your breakdown, whether it's cast or costume or locations. And once all of that information has been added, you can then directly move forward and create a shooting schedule. And you can see here that you can create many different schedules very easily. You can do this, however you prefer. And when you're ready, you can mark a schedule as active. When you do that, you can see here that when I click edit, I now have all of the scenes that I've imported here to work with. So I can directly select any scenes, shots, or content items that I'm working with and add them to the shooting schedule directly. And you can see here that I can also sort these by ID or by set or by character. And then if I want to add these scenes, I just select the scenes that I want to add and drag them here to my shooting phase. And when I do that now, you can see that I have a lot of different options. We have this stripboard view, and I can decide how things should be displayed. I can decide which columns should be displayed, so I can always see the key information that I need to see right here very clearly. I can also, if I want to, directly reorder the strips by set or by location or by different information. And as well as that, I can automatically add day breaks. So if it's a scripted content or a scripted project, and I know that I get through 2 pages of the script per day generally, then I can select this and automatically add day breaks every 2 pages of the script. The other option, of course, is just to directly add day breaks like this by clicking add day break and just play around with things. So I can maybe add 3 different day breaks. I can then add a banner for something like lunch, for example, on the first day of our shoot. And I can drag and drop all of the information to reorder information however I prefer. So you have this function to play around with exactly how the information should be displayed. You can change the start and the end times and the schedule duration. And once you're happy with your shooting schedule, you then have the option to save this. So you can play around and decide exactly how your schedule should be managed. When I save this, it's saved as a draft that I can always refer to later. And I can also use this to generate call sheets. But before I do that, just to quickly show you, I showed you just there how it works when you have a script. But you can also see that in Yamdu, you can work with non-scripted information. In a different project here, you can see that I can work with episodes. So I can work individually with different episodes, especially for telenovelas and things like this, or I can work with all episodes at once. And as well as this, you can see that in this project, I'm not working with a script, but rather with shots. So I can add each of the shots that I need right here, add all of the key information. And you can see that I can add audio and visual information as well to create an AV script so that we can, directly add these things for commercials or music videos and things like this. We can also use the information to generate storyboards and PDF export these easily with the AV script or with images or however we would prefer. And finally, the other piece of content that you can work with within Yamdu is the content item. And this is for things like interviews or behind the scenes footage or photography or documentaries where you don't have scripted content, you don't have a shot-based idea of what needs to be done. You just know that you need to create something. And then you can very easily do that, whether it's a drone shoot or whether it's something else. You can directly add that piece of content and work with that instead. And all of these different elements can be mixed and matched when you work on your shooting schedule. So if I return here and take a look at the shooting schedule I just created, I can play around with this, I can edit it again. And at any point, I can now see that for shooting day number 1, I have the option to create a call sheet. So I can simply click on create call sheet. And when I do this, all I need to add is information like the title, however I prefer it to be, the date and the call time. So once I have all of that, I then have the option to create call sheets for scouting or rehearsal or ADR or anything else. You can also reuse existing call sheets that you've created within Yamdu, keeping the same structure. So again, that's part of the template management. The same goes for tasks and for production steps that you can reuse again and again and have pre-added to projects as you work on them. But you can see here that if I click on shooting day, now all of the information from my breakdown, from my shooting schedule, and all of the department specific information will be put together into a call sheet for me. And the first thing I can do here is choose a design. You can see that we have a nice clean design, for example, here. We can also work with a more industry standard design where there's a lot of information very tightly packed together. And you can also decide whether you want headlines or background colors or whatever it might be. So that's the design of the project. I'll come back to the mailing list in a few seconds. But first of all, you can see here that it has automatically generated a call sheet with information like the scenes and the characters and the department instructions added. So you can see I have my scenes. I can directly edit this information right here in the call sheet if something is not quite right. And I can add scenes and notes as necessary as well. You can also see that I have characters, so I can play around with this information too. So for example, if the actor Fareed does not need to rehearse if he's a bit of a diva, we can very easily remove that from his information, like so. You can also see that the old map has been added in the department instructions, and we can also pretty much edit this however we want. If I select something like calls, I can directly move this somewhere else. I can say it looks better under the PDF header, for example. I can see here that I didn't add a location yet for my shoot, so I can do this directly in the call sheet. But of course, if I had added a location earlier, then it would automatically appear. But in this case, we're shooting at RE Studios. When I select this, it adds a map, the weather at that location on that date, and the nearest hospital as well. And the other thing you can do here is add lots of different elements, text fields, page breaks, 2-column elements, anything that you think might be relevant to the production, the scenes for the next day, or transportation details. And in this case, maybe I'll just add the crew list with calls so you can see how the information is automatically added when you select a piece of information. That's one of the key things Yamdu provides, and it builds up a call sheet with all of the key information you require attached. So it's automatically added all of the people, their positions, and the call times that they are required at. But of course, sometimes people that create call sheets would like to have some additional editing options. So anything that I add in the call sheet, I can turn into a text field. And when I do that, we lose the information link between the other areas in Yamdu, but it allows you then to edit this information as though you were working with, for example, Excel or with a spreadsheet system like that, where I can add new rows and columns, I can color the backgrounds of information, and I can type new information and details directly on the call sheet itself. I can, of course, zoom in and out to get a better look of what this looks like, and I can attach additional pieces of information if necessary as well. But once I've added or created my call sheet and I'm happy with this, and I've decided whether I need to push or pull call times or change the design, I then have the option to save this as a draft initially, which I can play around with again afterwards. And once I have saved this, I can mark it as final and send to all recipients. And when I send this, I can see the recipients here. I can add other people from the system, or I can directly add or type email addresses into the system as well. I can change the title and also directly add an email message too. So to customize this a bit and provide some context. And when everything is ready and this is ready to be sent, I just need to click mark as final and send to all recipients. And it will be sent not as a no reply at Yamdu, but from my email address, so that everyone is aware of the fact that this is the key call sheet and it's been created by someone that people know, a real person, not just a no reply, which may lead to issues. So once I do this, we can now see the finished call sheet with all of the information. We can directly download this as a PDF export, and we can also see the sending report. And this is where you have all of the people that this has been sent to. We use fake email addresses for the demonstration, but with real ones, you can see if something has been sent, received, viewed, if it's pending, if it's been rejected. And then you have the option, of course, to resend the call sheet if there are issues, or send the call sheet to additional recipients if necessary as well. And when someone is sent the call sheet, they can see very clearly the call time. They can see the PDF call sheet itself. They can directly go into Yamdu to view the call sheet as well. And they have a button that allows them to confirm attendance. So when they confirm it, it goes green here. And eventually, once everyone has done that, it's all green, and you have peace of mind that everyone will be on set for the first day of production at the right time with all of the information they need, because they've been using Yamdu from the very start, and there's nothing that they don't know about. So essentially, those are all of the key features that Yamdu provides, from the start and development and adding the crew members, all the way through to creating your call sheet and sending these out. So at this stage, I'd like to bring Florian back, because he has some special information relevant to SICAV members. So I'll just pass over the screen to him again. But thank you all for joining, and for your participation today.
Thank you, Mick. What a ride. So I hope it was not too overwhelming and you got a great idea of what Yamdu could do for your productions. And of course, there are 1,000 types of different productions, and we all know that we're getting back into the new golden age of episodic and serialized productions. So something special I was talking with Leonardo and the SICAV team about is brand new features that we have been developing over the last year with a very popular show in Germany, a telenovela called Rote Rosen, Red Roses. And they had, some thoughts about workflow of telenovelas, if you're really talking about industrialized episodic productions. And those thoughts that we've been working together with them, with those professionals for over a year now, I just want to share with you real quick, because maybe it might be interesting for you. So Red Roses is produced for German public television, for one of the largest broadcasters in Europe. It has been out there since 2006 in 18 seasons, over 3,000 episodes. So one of the longest running telenovelas and dailies in Europe. So what are their thoughts about a workflow of an episodic production of that size? So basically what they do, for example, on one day, let's say could be any Monday, they're shooting the script of one entire episode. Let's say the script episode 3001, right? So especially for the shooting scheduling department, they need to puzzle around, because they have always two teams, Team A and Team B, that the crew is divided off. And they are shooting in Studio A or Studio 1, Studio 2, and on location could be either one of these teams and could be mixed around. And they always have two cast types, so two different groups of cast. So this is what the team is doing for an entire day. Let's say, for example, if they're shooting. At the same time, on the same day, other departments are already preparing the shooting, let's say for script episode 3006, which will be shot on Monday, the week after. And that's especially when they import a script to Yamdu, they get all the information like Mick has shown with the script tagging for the art department, costume design department, makeup, hair, and then due to the continuous process of scheduling, they will then eventually always have their most current day out of day lists and what will be needed. And that is the same for Tuesday, for Wednesday, for Thursday, for Friday. So it is a continuous process where scripts are imported, and in different departments things are prepared over time. And that's how also Mick has shown in some parts the benefits of such a episodic add-on that we also use, we also offer with Yamdu, and some brand new features like we see here, that you can divide your project, your season, into different shooting blocks and episodes, and per drag and drop, play around. You can name them whatever you like, and it's also then reflected in the script import. And you can see in your scenes what episodes different scenes belong to, and of course it reflects to everything that you do. As you tag your script, you can individually create the categories that your departments might need. And also in the shooting scheduling, there are little specialities like this statistic overview. So you always see, for example, during a shooting week, how many scenes you have for different cast types and groups, or different units and team pots. So you always see how to level out while you're creating your shooting schedule. And of course, we just saw an example that Mick has shown as a call sheet, but especially for telenovelas and dailies and such episodic productions. Now with new features, you can also show different teams and cast types on the call sheet, and then tell them when they need to do what, especially also maybe for the entire week that's ahead of them. And of course, you can also see for all crew members, for all locations, for all cast members, their day out of day, so when they're working during the course of a week. It's the same, by the way, also for props and costumes and everything. So it's very flexible for those large production sizes. So last but not least, you can always have a look yourself on www.yamdu.com, start your free trial. You also will see a price list online, of course, so it starts project based with, let's say, $15 a month, or maybe $100, $200, $300 per month if you want to do a lot of projects and maybe manage your entire production company with Yamdu. So I think it's really fair pricing, but that's not all. We agreed with SICAV that we will talk to you individually, consult you what plan might be interesting according to your needs, and we will even offer you your plans in your currency, in Brazilian real, so you're not dependent on any variations in currency towards the US dollar, and you even, of course, get a significant SICAV discount. We do not show the discount here because maybe this video is shared on YouTube, but when you sign up, when you let us know we will that you're a SICAV member, we will always check back with Leonardo, with Bruna, with Julia and the team, and see if you're qualified and verified, and then we're very, very happy to have a great deal waiting for you. So that's it. Maybe we have a couple of minutes left if there are any questions. So Mick, did we have some questions popping up during the webinar?
Yes, so I just have three questions that came in. The first one is Yamdu is cloud-based, so where is Yamdu hosted?
Yeah, good question. True, we are hosting with Microsoft, so one of the oldest and most well-known cloud hosters, and it's geo-redundant, so there are several places in the world where we host at the same time. So that means your data is very safe, very secure, according to all measurements that Microsoft is doing in different places of the world, and nothing can actually be lost. And we also, for all the years we're out there, never have had any problems. So our hosting partner is Microsoft.
Okay, and another question is, do the users have to pay for their Yamdu accounts?
Yeah, good question. No, no. If you pay as a company, you have your plan, and if you invite your team, your users, cast members, whatever you like, it's for them free of charge. They need to register once, but then they can even use their account for as many Yamdu projects they might be invited to, also by other production companies that are using Yamdu. So it's really very, very easy for people to get started. Do we have
Okay, and
another one?
yeah, one last question, which is it possible to download projects from Yamdu?
Yeah, so I mean, Yamdu, of course, is a software as a service. It is a subscription, and it's a good thing to have all your projects and all your data in the cloud so you can access it from any device with any browser, anywhere, anytime. But if you really want to have all your data or parts of your projects stored locally, you can do so. It's only for company administrators, so that's kind of the highest level that you can be, usually the company owners or line producers. They can actually download an entire project anytime. For example, it's a giant zip file and you have the exact same file structure as you had in your cloud-based project. So I guess that's pretty good. 1 hour. Wow. So any more questions, Mick, that came in?
No, that's everything. That's everything everyone's
Perfect.
asked. Yeah.
Perfect timing. So thank
Okay.
you all for attending. And again, thank you, SICAV and Leonardo, for making this happy. Everybody of you who joined will, of course, get a follow-up email. Also, if any questions, other questions pop up, we can always talk to you individually, set up personal demos and consult you, have a look at your workflows. But I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Again, thank you to all of you, and everybody will get a follow-up email. And of course, if you want to share this webinar with the link you will be provided with, you're more than welcome to do so. So Tudo Ben, thank you very much. And I hope to see you all sooner or later to join our Yamdu family. Thank you.